Yo, you already know it's Mastermind MMA. And I just put up a video talking a little bit, not a little bit, about a good 20 minutes on the JDS Rothwell fight, the Luis Gonzaga fight, and touching on a bit of the card. And this video, I wanted to know, what do you guys think about Junior Dos Santos's position now? As where does he stand? Not so much the rankings, because they're a little funky the way they do that. But when it comes to the next fight or the title, what do you guys think should happen with JDS? His last fight before this, he lost, but he just beat the guy who has a win over the guy who beat him. So, for the sake of time, I don't think necessarily they have to run that back. But the fact that Overheem Dos Santos was a heavily built fight, the build in to the fact that it was supposed to happen, someone got hurt, it didn't happen, then it happened years later. And I wouldn't mind if they run it back. But after that show, man, I wouldn't be mad if they gave JDS a title shot. As I said in my last video, JDS, his boxing was elite. I'm a boxer. I'll say former boxer. I haven't competed in a few years now. What actually happened was when I was 17, that's like kind of the prime of when I was heavy into competing in boxing. And I just came off the Legacy Light Heavyweight tournament. I won that, and I was holding some belts with Legacy. And in previous divisions, I stepped up, won that, and then I was talking to the promoter of the league. I was telling him I wanted to go up to heavyweight and hold those titles, and it's all amateur. So I'm not saying I'm a professional or I would be a world beater, or I was a world beater, but I was undefeated the time I boxed. And when I ran through the light heavyweight tournament, it was their top guys, and I was in my prime then. And I'm sure if I step back into it now, I'll be decent. But I wanted to go up in light, from light heavyweight to heavyweight. The promoter was trying to tell me that he wants me to do a few more fights or go down and defend my belt. And I wasn't really for it. I planned on vacating those lighter weight belts just because, frankly, when I got those belts and acquired it, I was young. I was like 16. I was like in 10th grade. So it would take a high level of discipline for me to even suck down to get back to those weight classes. So, I'm man enough to admit I kind of just wanted to stack it up and dip. And when I said I wanted to go to heavyweight, he wasn't really for it. Wanted me to go down, defend it. He said if I'm not going down, I have to vacate it before I go up another weight class. And from light heavyweight to heavyweight is a pretty big jump within boxing. So during that time, I wasn't really disciplined enough to be able to go up and down, up and down. It was more of a gradual build as I grew from, super welterweight to middleweight to light heavyweight. And then, cause the lighter weights, I was always bigger in my weight classes. So it was really easy in the lighter division. That's why I went up. I mean, I could have stayed, got more discipline, sucked down and just beat guys. But I didn't really feel that great doing it. I felt more like a bully. Cause I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm beating these guys, but am I just fighting to win or am I fighting to challenge myself? So, as I was growing, I was like, let me get into the heavier weight classes. And when I entered heavyweight, I did a fight at heavyweight, with Legacy, they said I couldn't get a title shot, that I need to vacate the belt and do another title shot. They said if you want, you could defend the regular light heavyweight belt because it was separate from the Grand Prix tournament. So I really wanted to go up to heavyweight and just really challenge myself. So then there was another promotion, Dream Boxing, and I wasn't under any signed contract yet. So I went over to Dream. They gave me an automatic title shot. I got the title at Dream. And then, I was pretty happy. I was 17, deep into my 17, senior year of high school. Not really. I finished all the classes I need to graduate, and I was really had no fucks to give. And I was really clowning around, goofing off. And that summer, like after my 18th birthday, I had some, I'll call it an incident, but maybe I'll get into it in a different video. But I had an incident where I got into a street fight, and I won the street fight. I had the kid running away. He was acting like a little bitch. He actually sucker punched me. I didn't initiate any of the fight. I got sucker punched. Before I knew it, I was on the ground and he had me mounted, and that's when I realized, like, oh shit, I'm in a fight. Cause he didn't drop me from the hit or anything like that. But when he hit me, he immediately pushed me down. And there was something right behind me. Like, I don't know if it was a basketball or something, because I was just chilling with my friends and it popped off. So I tripped over whatever was behind me, and then he just got on top. I pushed him off of me, and then we started trading. I was rocking him, and then I kept clocking him in the face, and then we clinched, and then it was like this awkward ass where like I was controlling his wrist standing, and then like pushing him back, and then like we just started talking about shit, and I was like, yo, stop this, like let's just talk. And then it was just kind of like it all just sunk in, like, yo, this dude just fired on me. I like got into a little fight with him, and he was still like acting tough as shit, and like I was like, yo, let's go, let's fight again. And then he was like, he had me outnumbered. It was with him and another guy. And then I called my boy up, like in between. I was like, yo, get down here now. This kid just fired on me. And my homie showed up, a fucking sap. He didn't even have a car. He paid someone $20 to ride down to where I was at. Because of the sucker punch, my face was swollen, and like my right side wherever he landed, and my boy saw my face, and he went up to that kid, spit in his face, and he wasn't trying to fight. It was a fair fight, and I was willing to go out fighting them too, but everything was squared up right now. The kid was running away, saying he's got to make it to dinner with his mom. This is no bullshit. I could respect the fact that we got into a fight, but the fact that he got himself in, the fact that he didn't square up, he sucker punched me and then was literally running away. He got in the car and hopped away, and then I got into my homie's car and then went to where they were at. They went to a movie theater, and then I pull up into the movie theater and see them there. This kid goes and he stands right in front of the fucking door. So I'm like, yo, you wanted to be a big guy. You want to be a tough guy. Let's go. Let's finish this shit. You started it. I didn't even start it. Let's finish this shit. And then like the movie owners, it's like kind of like a small movie theater. It wasn't anything big. It was a privately owned small business movie theater. So the owners are there. The owners are the ones selling the tickets behind the box office. So then they come out, and my homie like is telling them, because at this point we're in a public place. His face is swollen up. I have my eyes a little swollen. There's blood on my shirt, and it looks bad. And I was worried that the cops were gonna come, and I just turned 18, and I was like, I wanted to beat the living shit out of this kid. And the thing was, the homie he rolled with, I was boys with. But that kid was just better friends with him, I guess. And yeah, he didn't want any smoke. And then I rocked him. And then he started backing away. And then I turned and looked. And this motherfucker stood right in front of the door where the camera is. So the camera's catching all of this. So that was smart on his part. And I'm like, yo, let's go back to where we were and finish this shit. And he literally ran away. I'm not even exaggerating. This kid ran out of the movie theater and ran away and probably called his mom to pick him up and ate dinner with his mom. And when I came home later that night, I didn't go home immediately after that. It was summer. It was in the summer. It was the end of summer right before I started college. And I came home. I tried to tell my parents that I was playing football and that, the guy shouldered me and that's why my face was swollen. But my mom is way too smart for that. So was my dad. And they're like, no, we know you got in a fight. Who was it? Why? And it started to get way out of hand. And honestly, after that kind of fired me up more to box. Because I'm like, yo, my skill really came in handy. I'm not an aggressive guy. I'm not someone that instigates shit. I feel like I'm smart enough to verbally handle anybody. But every fight I've been in street fight wise, I've had no other choice. I was fired on first. I've been sucker punched a bunch of times, but I've never been defeated and never been knocked out. And that's not from a place of ego, but that's just saying what kind of people initiate those kind of fights, where they sucker punch, try to sneak in a shot and get lucky, and then that's their one shot and it's done. But I got a little off topic, but let me just wrap up that little info on Mastermind MMA. So I when I got home, I had to kind of deal with that, shit getting stricter, and you're supposed to be going to college, and that's when like ultimate freedom happens. But I've always had a great amount of freedom, so it didn't really change much. It just kind of changed, it just, as a parent, I could see why they would be worried. So, I was like, I wanted to go back because I got the belt at Dream. Legacy was trying to get me back and said you could do whatever. You don't even have to vacate any belts. And I was just like, you know what, man? Like, I'm kind of done with this for now. I got to focus on school. And I actually didn't make that decision till school happened, till college started. My first year, I was going to Penn State, and it did not go my way. It was a shitty year, school wise, and that played the big factor into why I stopped boxing. At least on a competitive level, and that's it. It was kind of a combination of everything. And at that point in my life, I came to a realization that I kind of have to grow up. You know what I mean? Like, that was probably the biggest takeaway I got from freshman year. It's like, yo, this shit's not a game. I got to get my life together. I got to get shit focused. And priorities shifted, and I'm a guy that likes to have a good time, that likes to chill, that likes to have fun. But if I were to continue boxing, it would have been a lot on my plate. And the thing was that after the light heavy, I don't know if I'm going on, but what happened was I paused the video. Then I went out to do something quick. Then I came back and I started talking for a shit more time. I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say, but I was talking for a shitload. And I stopped it and it wasn't there. So I'm going back to the part where I cut out. So if I repeat anything I said before this, my bad. But basically I had the titles in Legacy. I won the Grand Prix tournament. I left the promotion and did a fight at heavyweight with Dream. Uh, Dream wanted me to commit, and Legacy wanted me to commit to them, and I was 18. My first fight at Dream at heavyweight was I consider myself 18. I wasn't. I was 17 turning 18, but I was pretty much 18 at that point. There's really no change from 17 to 18 at that fight. So after that, I was like, it's almost off to the races to where I could almost start going to a legitimate route if that's what I so chose to do. I wanted to go to Golden Gloves after that, and climb my way up the ranks there, and being an established Golden Gloves fighter opens a lot of doors into the legitimacy of competing on an elite level in the sport. So I thought about it, but it wasn't realistic enough for me. You know what I mean? I was already had the shit with school going on. I'm a musician, so I was focusing on music more as well. So with school and music, it was kind of music is definitely my bigger passion, my biggest passion. So boxing kind of took a back seat to that, and with me be kind of, like that fight I got into the kid wasn't a big deal really, but it kind of it was a shaky start. When you get into trouble, you do something stupid, you get in trouble with your parents, you gotta go through that rebuilding of trust phase and the almost rebuild of freedom where you don't get questioned to do stuff. And I was in that phase, and after getting in a fight, I don't think it was like a street fight. I don't think it would have been smart to be like, hey, mom, dad, I'm going back to boxing and doing that. I don't know if they would have had any opposition, but, it was in high school when I was doing it. So, it wasn't much on the line. High school's not hard at all. So when I hit the real world, school-wise, college-wise, I kind of realized that, I wouldn't necessarily call it hard, but I would call it very tedious and a lot of work. So I actually planned that if I did good to eventually make my return back. And when after that first semester, failed a lot of classes, and it was because I just didn't give a shit enough to commit, man, to school and that high level. Then my second semester, I go back and don't do too great. And after that first fucking Christmas break where you gotta break it to your fucking family that you didn't do too hot in college, and it was my first semester, and shit wasn't going good, and that really set to a shaky year. And from that year on, it was a building point. I switched schools and built my way back up, and then I even moved out to Philadelphia for a year. Went to school out there. Then I realized that it wasn't that great to be. I realized, like, me going out to Philly, I was living with roommates and stuff, and before I had my house to my own, so there was that adjustment, and it was almost like I was paying more money to be less comfortable. So I just came back to the cribbo, and started going to college, to a school close by my house, and it's just been smooth sailing there. And now I started my training back up again, but I don't know if the opportunity passed me by, but it is what it is. And it would have been nice. It really creates kind of like a what if reminiscent, But it's definitely not that much of where I was a killer and lost. Like it's not that me not doing it is a shame. You know what I mean? I could have gone far, maybe. Maybe I would have gotten reality checked really quick and would have realized I wasn't really fighting the top guys. But for my boxing, the guys I fought were tough, and I have that to kind of reminisce about and be fond about, and it is what it is, and that's that. But I got on this whole boxing tangent because I was talking about JDS and his phenomenal showing, his footwork, his movement, his precision, his accuracy, his fight IQ, his game plan, his strategy was all very well. And kind of fucking sucks that the podcast cut out. If I repeat this, I'm sorry, because I don't even know what I said and what got recorded. But I said this started off as a JDS video, just talking about where does he go from here. It was going to be a nice short little vid. And because I went off on that little boxing tangent, it's not a short video. And might as well broaden up the horizon and make this the Mastermind MMA podcast episode 2, brought to you by Mastermind MMA. So might as well fucking do the second of the podcast. I appreciate all the people listening, and I know I kind of sound like a broken record, but if I repeated anything now, which I repeated, forgive me, because some technical difficulties. But I started this channel 2 days ago. I'm noticing a lot of views for those days, and a lot every video I put up, I see people are visiting, and I got a subscriber. Yes, that was singular. Hopefully it'll be plural. But shouts out to you, shouts out to my listeners, shout out to everyone who listened to the first episode of the podcast. That was really my first video, you know what I mean? So that was I covered I talked about 197 and 199, and talked about some other things, and that was kind of like my first just my first video talking about shit, putting it out there. So after seeing that, and I put up more videos, and I'm seeing people coming and watching them, so that's definitely motivating to me, and that's gonna definitely help me be motivated to put up a lot more videos and have a constant stream of content. Because as an MMA fan, as an MMA fan, I realized that when I try to do things and watch things on MMA, there's very few media outlets, and most of the media outlets are UFC, like UFC on Fox Sports 1, which is basically UFC, and MMA fighting on SBN, which does a good job, but they're more of a professional media angle. And when it comes to the just the fans in the MMA community, I want to shout out MMA Tonight, MMA Quick Hits, Vegeta XYZ, MMA Digest. Those are a lot of people that I noticed where I could go to just listen about more UFC MMA stuff. And MMA Tonight is more of like a headline channel where she talks about current events, and it's mostly that. MMA Quick Hits, he's a funny dude. His videos make me laugh, especially when he starts going in on people. Like something that made me a fan of his page was my dislike towards DC, and we saw things the same way. And I appreciate the entertainment that channel gives. And so I noticed there is kind of a lack of entertaining MMA channels where we'll kind of get deep into subjects and have conversations with it. And there are, but not as much as there can and should be. And I realized there is a gap within the UFC market the MMA journalism market as a fan. So, this is me just throwing my hat in the ring, and hopefully I'm up there with the top guys in the media game when it comes to mixed martial arts. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody listening. I appreciate it so much. And you guys mean a lot to me. And back to just JDS, I think you give him the title shot after that showing of boxing. And I was talking about how Fabricio Werdum would be an interesting matchup because we knew he came in as an elite ground game guy, a decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, and the whole path to the belt for Fabricio was his development in striking. And I believe he's over at King's MMA with Rafael Cordero and Rafael Dos Anjos. Cordero's the coach. Dos Anjos is the teammate, of course, the champ. And his striking got phenomenal. And his striking game was looking like, I don't know if you guys saw that Travis Brown fight he had. He did like this crazy triple jab technique, and I don't remember how he ended up on his back, but he ended up on his back with Travis Brown standing over him, and Fabricio started doing like the kiss, like come down here hand motion, and please come down here. Oh, come down here. Like, it was very funny, and it was very degrading to Travis, and it was very nice to have that showmanship within the ring, and to have that showmanship while performing, you know what I mean? So, Travis Brown is fighting Kane now. I don't think he deserves that fight, especially after the way the Mitrione fight went. But this isn't a Travis Brown video. I don't think Travis Brown is really he hasn't really earned much of my my respect for the guys he's taken out to really talk about him that much. If I do talk about him, it'll probably be about like the Brendan Chop shit. So back to Fabricio and JDS, that'd be interesting because that would be a test for Fabricio's striking. And not his striking. I phrased that wrong. It won't be a test for his striking. It'll be able to see, all right, how does he do against an elite boxer? He showed what he did against Hunt, who was a hard hitter. He showed what he could do against Kane, who was the best at the time. And now he could show what he could do and really make a case for being one of the best heavyweights. And I'm a Fabricio Werdum fan. I was a Cain Velasquez fan when I saw Cain when I was younger, and I saw Cain make Brock Lesnar cry. And I fully and firmly believe that Brock Lesnar was crying at the end of that fight. And Cain was looking good out for injury, but Fabricio is just that dude right now. And I would like to see Fabricio go out on top. I would like to see him be the heavyweight king. I would like to see the Jon Jones Superfight. And the only changing of guard with the belt I would like to see is to Jon Jones when he comes up. But besides that, I would love to see Fabricio hold the belt. And being honest, something that really makes me rock with Fabricio, and what really turned me against Conor McGregor, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna let you guys know, I was at the end of 194, bro. I was all in for the Notorious one. I was a Conor McGregor fan. After that knockout of Jose, I bought into the hype. I was rooting for him. I even put, the moment it happened, I put up on my Instagram a video clip of the knockout and said the Notorious one is a motherfucker. # only took 13 seconds. So I don't want it to get twisted that I'm one of the Conor haters or anything like that, because I'm not. I could respect the guy. I could respect the guy for what he did. And what turned me fully against Conor McGregor and just made me want to see him fall and, you know, just be out of it was when he made those disrespectful comments about my God. I'm a Christian. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not religious. I'm not one of those. I'm not a hypocritical person. I try not to judge people. And quite frankly, I believe people's relationship with God is a personal thing. I believe that faith is to each person, and no one has a right to judge anybody's faith. But when you talk so disrespectfully about my Lord and Savior, I don't fuck with you, bro. I do not fuck with you. And Fabricio Werdum was the only person that I know of that said Conor crossed that line by quoting what he said and saying he crossed the line with saying that. He's the only fighter in the UFC that has said anything about that. I respect you, Fabricio. You know, a lot of the, and when I watched that press conference with Conor and RDA and the arrogance he was talking with Conor, I was like, a part of me really wanted to see this guy do great. A part of me really wanted to see him get that lightweight belt and make history. But after that, man, there's no way I could root for you. I was heavily rooting against Conor McGregor. I'm going to be honest, when they announced the Nate Diaz fight, I was a little disappointed because I was like, yo, they're trying to just set Conor up with a easier fight, which they thought they was, but 209, motherfucker. Fuck you, fuck your belt, fuck all that. That was Nate Diaz. And he came in and finished you, bro. And now we all see the status of Conor McGregor. I don't hear gods recognize gods. I don't hear that you spewing that bullshit rhetoric anymore. Right? If you were such a god, how'd you allow yourself to lose, Conor? Yeah. So that's really my thing about Conor McGregor. So I just want to put that out there. I don't want you guys to think that I'm just a Conor hater. I'm not a Conor fan anymore, and it was for a very specific reason. And looks like I'm on the right side of that shit because his ass lost. But anyway, Fabricio, JDS, I would like to see that. Fabricio Overeem, I wouldn't be mad at because Overeem has a win over him, which is when I talk about how the shallowness of the division, how MMA math does not count. First of all, I don't believe in MMA math. Second of all, the MMA math does not count when it comes to the heavyweight division. One way or the other, someone's taken somebody out. One way or the other, someone has a win over someone who has a win over somebody who beat them. I don't know if I said that right. I don't know if I said it confusingly, but I think you guys got what I was going for. And I'm not a fan of seeing anything that doesn't need to happen in the heavyweight division because you do have a lot of contenders. Not saying I would be mad at the Kane rematch, but the grounds for a Kane rematch isn't that heavy. And especially the fact that, they might be giving Kane Travis so he just gets a fight to the title. But I think Fabricio put a pretty clear mark on the defeating of Cain Velasquez. So I think Fabricio Verdum's going to hold that belt until Jon Jones comes up and takes it from him. And Daniel Cormier, your reason I don't have respect for Daniel Cormier is that in order to be a champ, you got to beat the champ, and you lost to the champ. You left your division that you're undefeated in because you're friends with a top guy in there, which, you know, I'm not going to speak on. I can respect that. I can respect the notion of the loyalty to your camp and your friends and your training partner, which sandwiches you because Luke Rockhold is the current middleweight champ. And even if Luke Rockhold, you know, doesn't win that strap again, he's still going to be a top guy in the division, regardless, however you want to view it. If Chris beats Luke's got that's already a trilogy set up, and I see Luke working his way to the title. I see Luke being a top guy. So DC doesn't have that option according to DC logic. He likes to go on and say Jon Jones beat Jon Jones outside of the cage. Jon, your actions outside of the cage is what got you your belt stripped. Jon Jones said, listen, you may have the belt, but you're not the champion. And DC's like, oh, so does that make you the champ, Jon? Jon's like, yes. Which is true. If that counterpunch video doesn't come out because DC pulled out, that's just another annoyance. You know when someone's just so annoying that anything they do, they could just like look the wrong way? Just it just pisses you off. Like DC's one of those guys that anything he could do just pisses you off, and he just makes it so easy to hate. You saw at the Unstoppable press conference, the crowd was against you, bro. If you come from the place of, you know what, Jon Jones the champion, he got stripped. I'm the current title holder. Once I face Jon and when I beat Jon, I'll be the unified champ. Then I could respect that. But you're saying, Jon, you lost the belt. I'm the champion. And it's kind of like, you know, when you're kids, my only older sibling is a sister that's 10 years older than me. But, you know when you're kids, and if you have a sibling closer to your age, you guys like the same shit. You guys like the same toys. And you just get a new toy or something, and your mom or dad tells you to share with your brother or your sister, and you gotta share. And when your brother's playing with it, you're like, all right, I want to play with it. Get me back. Let me get it back. And they're like, no, Mom said that I could play with it. That's what DC's doing. Dana and Lorenzo said I'm the champ. I would really like to know who thinks Daniel Cormier is the champion for real, because I do not. There's no angle I could even convince myself that he is the champion. Only way I could see an argument for when Jon Jones was off the roster, off all the rankings, and no one knew what was going to happen with him. Then, all right, maybe DC's the champ. He just lost to Jon Jones, but then Jon Jones's career is immortalized. He's put up in the rafters, and that's that. He came out as an undefeated champ, and that would have been it. But Jon Jones is coming back, coming for his belt. DC pussies out, and I don't use the term pussy a lot, but I definitely do use that exclusively for Daniel Cormier, because you're the biggest pussy I ever met, and you'll forever be my pussy. In the words of the illustrious Bones Jones. You know, he said he said a lot of the animosity comes from, this is John, he said, a lot of the animosity between me and Daniel comes from me being alpha and Daniel wanting to be alpha. You see, I do believe in the alpha male, beta male thing, but I don't view it as something so cut and dry as I'm an alpha, he's the beta, or he's the wannabe alpha. I believe in people really being comfortable with who they are in their own skin. And I really believe once that confidence is there, that's what creates that alpha male type confidence. Jon Jones knows he's the baddest motherfucker in the world. He doesn't have to put out anything to say that. DC, you could tell DC tries to act like a tough guy. He acts as what he thinks an alpha male would do. Jon Jones acts as Jon Jones would do because he knows he's an alpha. There's the difference. Jon Jones is himself and he's an alpha male. Daniel Cormier is trying to behave as what he views alpha males doing. And if you ever noticed in life where you and someone else just don't get along, or someone doesn't like you for some reason, it's a lot. And if you're a good person, not saying if you're a dick and a douchebag, everyone that doesn't like you, it's on them. But if you're clear within your own conscience that you're a good person, you treat people with respect, and people don't like you, it usually stems from something within them. And Daniel Cormier is projecting all of his insecurities onto Jon Jones. Daniel Cormier had everything he's prided himself on taken away from him. He prided himself being an Olympic wrestler. Jon Jones took him down under the first minute. He prided himself being an undefeated fighter. Jon Jones beat him and took his undefeated record. You got a souvenir belt, Daniel. You got one. You got a replica. I wouldn't even call it an interim belt. I would call it a replica. Congratulations. And the thing with that belt, it's like, Daniel, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. You lost to the champ and you're mocking a champ. And your argument to the champ is, you lost the belt outside. You got stripped for the belt. You see, I could see fans arguing that way. But you, as a combat artist, as a combat sports player, in the as real as it gets, the UFC, you say you are the champion because my guy Jon Jones got into an incident. And I'm not even going to make light of the incident because shit happens, people. Guess what? Shit happens. So and Jon Jones is young, guys. Like, he's not even fucking 30. Give him a break. Why do you... Bro, if you're the baddest motherfucker in the world, if you're going to a party, some bitch brings out some blow, you do lines, then you go fuck up Daniel Cormier, I think you kind of earned the right to cut loose a little bit. So the whole thing about Jon Jones is he never tried in his career. He never trained, and he's accomplished all these great things. Even more reason to let the guy do what he wants. That's the thing I don't get about athletics, and why they try to have like these athletes be role models. Bro, they're fucking human beings. Let them be rock stars, dude. Let Jon Jones be the baddest motherfucker in the planet and smoke some herb. Let's not make them, especially what they go through and what they do. Let's not limit them on what they do to relax, cuz who the fuck are we to say anything about that? I think if he's smart enough to get to where he's smart enough to do the things he wants to do. And if he's not, he'll face the repercussions of it. which he has been. But I think he's been facing repercussions because the spotlight has been brought onto it. I think if Jon Jones came out like a Diaz brother saying how much he loves herb and he parties, and Chuck Liddell is a party guy, he could have been he could have been straight. And even so, even if you want to say, oh, that's his own fault, well, guess what? He was the age I am right now today at 23 years of age. He won the world championship. Makes me feel shitty about life. Makes me feel unaccomplished, yes. But you gotta admire that, man. I couldn't even imagine being at that level, at that age, and staying on top. Why would you try to even regulate that, man? I would understand regulations would be necessary if he's fucking up, if he's not accomplishing the things he is accomplishing, but he has the potential to. Nah, man, he's getting shit done. Maybe he's not getting it as clean into the fullest of his potential, but him barely trying is better than the rest, obviously. Daniel Cormier, you got beat with Jon Jones not even trying. Now you try to say the muscle's going to slow him down. My guy has a smart team and he's going to cut weight, right? Not saying anything about his speed, but it's going to be a trade-off. If he loses speed, he gains more power. You're scared, Danielle. You're scared and you're running, and I could respect that. Yes, I said I could respect that if you just owned it. It seems like a lot of your arguments, Daniel, it sounds like you're just saying out loud what you try to tell yourself in your head. You try to say Jon Jones doesn't deserve it. Why? He's beat every champion, defended against every top contender, and he doesn't deserve it because he got into a car accident? He doesn't deserve it because he did some cocaine? And I'm not trying to take away from what Jones did in that situation that got him stripped, but you can't judge a person, especially if you haven't been in their shoes. And I know that, he ran away, but you never know what was there's just too much shit we don't know, man. But what we do know is that he has been undefeated and an undefeated champion, and he's fighting for his 9th or 10th world title, I believe. And I know the history books is going to be a little sketchy on it, but he basically surpassed Anderson Silva, man. And I know they're going to try and say it's not consecutive. The Rumble fight, I could say, DC, all right, you took out a contender because that's who Jones was supposed to fight. Gus, Jones, and Rumble beat Gus. You almost lost to Gus. I think if Alexander Gustafsson changed training camps, went to somewhere that could really utilize his what he has to work with, he could be a dangerous guy. He could be, I wouldn't say a champion. I don't see him ever beating Jon Jones, but he could be the top guy. He could be what DC's trying to portray himself to be. People could argue Gustafsson won that fight. No one can argue that DC won his fight with Jon. People can argue Gus won that fight against Jon. I don't agree with that, but there is an argument for it. The only reason you fought Jon Jones the first time was because Gus got hurt. So for you to talk about you know, about how you've been fighting while John was gone. All right, you fought Rumble, and that was supposed to be John Jones's fight. All right, I'll give you Rumble. Gus, I don't. That was a good fight. Don't get me wrong. I appreciated DC's heart in that fight, and I can appreciate DC as a fighter, man. Take away all this the animosity with John Jones. I respect DC. But at the same token, DC's the one that's earning my disrespect. At the same token, it's like, DC, you yourself are turning people against. I say to you, people, I say to you, I have been sober longer than 5 months. So the fuck what? You're really trying to attack a guy for something he's being open about, man. And real quick, bitch, it wouldn't even be an issue if USADA wasn't doing tests for shit they shouldn't even be testing for. It wasn't USADA, it was the commission. But if NSAC wasn't testing for shit they shouldn't, for street drugs, that cocaine report doesn't come out. And so the fuck what? I don't do cocaine, and I don't tell anybody that they should do cocaine. But real quick, bitch, if you're a millionaire and a badass motherfucker and you do a little blow, I'm not gonna say anything against it. If we're homies and like I see it's becoming a part of your life, I'm like, dude, listen, let's lay off the cocaine. But that's on a personal level. When it comes to John Jones as an athlete, he is unparalleled in the UFC. When it comes to John Jones as a champion, he is unparalleled in the UFC. When it comes to Daniel Cormier as a fighter, he's a good fighter and respectable fighter, but you're number 2 to 1 John Jones. Regardless, you're second best. I'll give you the fact you earned Daniel that number 1 contender spot. You are the number 1 contender in the light heavyweight division. Do not get that twisted. But you are not the champion of the light heavyweight division. You are not the interim champion of the light heavyweight division. You are not even the paper champion of the light heavyweight division. You're a guy that just gets to say he was a former UFC champ. That's all. Like, your whole belt is in retrospect. Because as of right now, it's not worth shit. But when you're on Fox and when you're doing all your analytical work, former UFC light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, you get that. Congratulations, guy. You did it. You have that on your record. Dual promotion, Strikeforce, and UFC champ. But how'd you win that UFC championship, Daniel? And who did you succeed in that championship, Daniel? And who are you ducking to unify that UFC championship? I wouldn't even call it a unification to get that belt. You know what? If Rumble won that belt that night, I would call it an interim champion. If Alex Gus won that belt, I would say interim champion. Daniel Cormier, you just came off your loss to John Jones to get that. Realistically, those fights, and you even said it yourself, those fights were you working your way back up to John Jones. So don't try to hold that over leverage with John. And I'm going on right now, and you don't want to get me started on this DC shit, because I was flowing pretty smooth on the beginning of the podcast, I feel. Had me reminiscing about my good old days, but now you got me fired up talking about DC. In the words of my guy MMA Quick Hits, double cheeseburger. So, I'm gonna stutter on this W to emphasize. What are your plans, Daniel? What are you realistically going to do? Fight at 200 and lose it? You know the belt loss is coming. I told you what I thought about Daniel's plan about getting on 200 and retiring. I have a few DC videos out. Go check that out. But I came up with another thought. I think DC is he's saying he might make the 200 card, might not. If he gets the 200 card, then I'll respect him because he's made peace with the fact that the belt is not his, and he's just going to go out there and do a good showing. Because DC, you can have a good fight against Jon Jones, even though I see you getting finished in the rematch. But theoretically speaking, especially based off your last performance, you could hang with Jon. I don't think you will in the rematch, but if you make UFC 200, cool. Jon gets his belt back. But I think what Daniel's trying to do, if he doesn't make 200, he said he's not going to fight on MSG. And there's no way in the motherfucking world that they're going to do a card at Madison Square Garden without Jonathan Bones Jones. And if they do, that's stupid as fuck on their part. But he said, I did a video where he told ESPN, you could go check it out, that he does not want to fight Jon in the fall at MSG. So I honestly think he's gonna pull out. This is my first real thought of his game plan is what I did in my other video. You could go check it out where I think he's gonna retire. But what I really think, if that's not the plan, he's just gonna hold out, delay this fight, and then Jon Jones has Anthony Rumble Johnson left and a Gus rematch if he wants, which he said he wants. Division's cleaned the fuck out after that. I think Daniel's just waiting for Jon Jones to clean out the division, move up to heavyweight, and then light heavyweight is his division. Honestly, objectively speaking, once Jon Jones is gone from the light heavyweight division, Daniel, then you could be the champion. Then I will call you the light heavyweight champion of the world, Daniel Cormier. But until you run that back with Jon Jones, and the running back is in your favor, because you're the one that needs it. Jon Jones already beat you. He does not need a rematch. And if Jon Jones is going to go off based of the opinion of some of the MMA fans on that he needs to get the legitimate blah, blah, blah. My opinion is, if the strap is with Jones, that's the legitimate belt. We all know that. You do too, Daniel. But yeah, I got a little aggressive. Got a little aggressive talking about Daniel. But I should calm down. Let me taper off. I've been going on for a hot minute on this video that was originally going to be a short JDS video about where he goes from here, but ended up being the second episode of the podcast. So yeah, and right now it's the Mastermind MMA podcast, but I'm thinking about names. You know, the name might stick, it might not, but I definitely want to rename this bitch, and I appreciate it. You know, I see guys who are listening to my last podcast, guys and girls, and I just want to thank you guys and thank you for listening to this one, and I really appreciate you guys and appreciate all the fans out there, the listeners, and all the fans of the sport. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'll talk to you guys soon. You already know it's Mastermind MMA.